This week we talked to David Abbruzzese, who is a legendary drummer from the band Pearl Jam for, in my opinion, the time that mattered. For the 10 tour, for Versus, for Vitalogy, basically when Pearl Jam was one of the best bands in the entire world.
Yeah, such a great interview. It was so good to talk with David. We recorded this a while back. We were using Zoom, and towards the end of the episode, you're going to notice some audio issues with David's feed, but it's not too bad. We cleaned it up the best we could. My internet straight up drops out a few times, but that's not a big deal.
We were getting some outer space sounds from David, considering we haven't identified where his location is, but it sounds far away.
But he was like opening up about Pearl Jam and Guns N' Roses and his like philosophies on life. And then
Stories
it's like
about Eddie Vedder
Cory,
and Axl Rose.
Yep. Hello. Yeah, and that's when I like gave Eddie Vedder stitches, and it's like, hello, Cory. Cory, you there? Hello.
Yeah, so yes, bear with us on this episode. It's got a ton of great stories and a lot of good info. We recorded this one back in June
on our 8 tracks.
Yeah, and we have a few with David. So this is one of many. Hope you guys dig it. At one point, we do reference another episode with Adam Gilbert of Starset, which has not come out yet, but it will be coming soon. So stay tuned.
It's almost like we had nothing better to do during this shit. So, you know, you got 2020 into like listening to crap. We're like Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction, you know, like the first scene's really like the 7th scene and Bruce Willis is already dead. You know what I'm saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cory Peza has just gotten 2020. His router needs to be reset. Comcast, Xfinity, wherever the fuck you are, get on that shit, because we got our good buddy David Abbruzzese, who's calling us in from an undisclosed location, and they're always beautiful, they're always eloquent, they're always articulate. The second half of Shabrock, who had a birthday yesterday, not the short part, but the Brock part. Siobhán Cronin! Yay. And we're waiting for Cory. We are the show 2020, which is all about living in a fucking bunker, which is what I'm sure David, myself, and Siobhán have done for the last 2 to 3 decades. But I'm just going to throw it down to David. David, what have you been doing for the last 26 years? Because Wikipedia doesn't seem to know.
That's a long period of time to ask about.
Yeah, I keep erasing it.
Did we lose Ben already?
Well, it said you live in Mesquite, Texas, but I don't know, man. Like, I talk, what's going on?
I like that address. It's just a cool name, Mesquite.
It is.
Like the barbecue sauce?
No, like a tree.
Like a tree. Like a tree.
Mesquite. Yeah.
So David, what the hell's going on with you, man? Like, because I didn't know it was like we've become friends, and like a lot of people are like, how the hell do you know this guy? But like, you're such an interesting person doing so many interesting things, but like I would never know that the guy I listened to growing up is the guy that's before me now. What's going on with you, dude? What do you want the world to know?
Wow, man.
I know it's deep. Smoke that.
Well, I mean, same as always, just following my heart and music.
Thank you, Cory. Your heart and music.
We have Cory back in the room.
Yeah. I mean, I had the studio for years. I lived in the desert for years and blah, blah, but music's always still been always the core of all of it. So, and my daughter, and wow, lots of stuff.
You seem to be like one of the most music guys that I've ever met in my entire life, because you just seem to love it so much. And I got to tell you, when I get all your tracks, it sounds like you really hate your drums. So you love playing drums, but like you hit the drums so hard. I can hear you. You tell me like I cracked 10 cymbals, and normally I would call shenanigans on a statement like that. But when you get your drum tracks back from David, they literally sound like you have a problem with your drums. What's up with that?
I'm not going to try to be too clever. I just love beating the shit out of my drums. And I can't help it. I always think I'm taking it easy, and then, notice that something's broken, or I listen back to the tracks and go, "Geez."
Yeah, man, it's like cannon shots when we get those tracks back. Come blasting.
I'm glad you liked them.
Well, I was going to say,
you did a great job.
We have to do close mic recording because I live in like a shoebox. But as you can see behind you, I was like, so David, how come you get the sound so good? And you're like, I don't know, 10,000 foot ceilings and like room mics only. Like what the, can you explain to people what gets you, because if you listen to David and he's on a song called The Garden of Earthly Delights on chapter 2, which is coming out for Lost Symphony, who's our sponsor, lostsymphony.com. David, first off, not only destroys the groove, but it really sounds like John Bonham in the sense that you went to a castle and that you set up a fucking microphone in the perfect like place, and it just sounds great because we're miking up and down the bottom parts, top parts, rooms, the 1 to 3 rule, and you're like sending me 5 tracks that sound better than anything I've ever done.
Well, okay, that track was actually recorded in a full tile and cement room with a tall ceiling and on a $300 Ludwig accent drum set.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
So it goes to say that a painter can't blame his paints, right?
It's just about getting the sound I hear, getting the drum that gets the sound, And that particular track, I just heard some cheap ass drums.
I mean, listen, I know that I give the connotation of cheapness, and I get it, but you don't have to stick it to me that way.
Not cheap sounding, just actually cheap sound, but recorded well and mixed exceptionally well.
Thank you, Cory. Thank you, Cory. So
thank you.
So let's just jump off into the deep end because first up, I want to say that Warren, have been pronouncing your name wrong again for 26 years. But that my first the first concert I ever wanted to go to, I bought tickets for the Versus tour with Pearl Jam, and you guys canceled. And I was so heartbroken, and in fact, I didn't get to see Pearl Jam until years later. But that was at one point, Pearl Jam was the biggest band in the fucking world, and I remember thinking to myself that like, you guys were like superhuman. So I'll give you an example. I used to tape radio broadcasts on my little mono boombox because I'm sure you remember and everyone remembers here, but maybe some of our listeners don't. I would take my little high bias cassette and use my mono boombox and I would record the radio. And my first radio broadcast ever was you guys live in Atlanta, Georgia. You started off with Release. And I remember my brother and I being so excited that we knew the song. We're like, okay, this is Release. And we were writing down the set list at like 14 or 15 going, maybe even younger than that, going, this is holy shit. And then we're timing the songs. We're like, did they play a really long version of Porch? Holy shit. Did you hear that drum, bass, guitar thing in the middle? And it was the first time as someone that listened to the radio, I said to myself, I want to see this band live. Fuck these recordings. Like this band, what they do needs to be experienced. And what was that time like for you, dude? Because like it seems like it was for me as a child, it was like Michael Jackson and then Pearl Jam.
Well, it was amazing. It was because that was the point, was to create good music and play the shit out of it, and yeah, I mean, it was the most really organic, easy, natural thing to do. I just, did my best every time I was behind my kit or a part of anything, and just, tried to manage the rest of it the best I could, interviews and shit like that. But, it was incredible. And like just the story you're telling, like those things it just blows my mind, I mean, but I was aware of that. That's what I was kind of shooting for during that time, because that's what inspired me to decide that's what I wanted to do, was seeing Triumph live, and the lights came on. Everybody was doing this, and I was like, to the kickdown, I was like, wow.
Yeah, so that's something that interests me. And we had actually the drummer from my band on our last episode. And so I come from a totally different world of classical music, but I'm fascinated by how people get to where they are. So maybe we can actually rewind from that point. And how did you get started playing drums, or what pushed you into music, or what were some of your early experiences?
All the way back to Connecticut days.
All the way back to the beginning.
I Googled you in Connecticut, right? You're from Connecticut.
Yeah, Sanford. In East Hartford, I destroyed most of my dad's tools, and anything that I could hit something with that would create a sound. He came home one night, and I was sitting on the porch with his hammer, and it was a cement porch, and I chipped a bunch of it away, but it was because when I hit it, my ears went thump thump, so it was like tank thump thump, tank thump thump, and from there it I don't know, I just got really, I think it was the way music affected my mom that started me. It being fascinated by it. Because she would dance around the house and it was like the best time, And so that made me pay more attention to it. And I guess through the period of emotional upheaval of moving and just growing up, moving from the Northeast to North Carolina and all this stuff, music just, the words fell in the right place at the right time, and it became a soundtrack and a teacher and all these things. And it just basically, carried me through a lot of decisions, but it just inspired me to just want to create, So
that's incredible.
And I think it was the way it made me feel. I just wanted to, it's like that to me would be success.
Did it really turn you on? Did it knock you off of your feet?
When I got it right, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So David, was there a clear transition from the drums and music in general being like just something you felt that you wanted to do to being something that you wanted to make a career out of?
No, I just hoped the career would happen.
Yeah.
I always worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
But, as far as getting into the industry, I knew it was just going to be a matter of right place at the right time. So I always just tried to stay prepared, and that was easy because all I did was play music. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. So many people have said very similar things. And I think that's like a really important point for people to think about is that, you just have to always stay prepared. And a lot of it's about putting yourself out there,
you think
doing as much as you can.
Do you think the long hair helped staying prepared? Because I feel like if I saw you with like a nice crew cut or even like the Star Set cut, like so what Adam has in Star Set, I wouldn't hire you as a drummer because I would just immediately say this guy doesn't live it.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm afraid of scissors. I thought you weren't going to be touching on stuff like that.
Oh man. Off limits. Actually, so I do want to, but before we go into the deeper stuff, I want to talk about something funny because we joke around so first off, my man crush is Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme, who I have a love-hate relationship, but mostly love.
Oh, wait. I know no one ever interrupts you, but I'm gonna.
Go for it.
Thank you.
During the festival, Ross Gilda, the first time Pearl Jam was there, Nuno Bettencourt, he was the guitarist for Extreme, yeah?
Yes, with Paul Geary, who's one of our good friends, the drummer, and Gary Sharon.
The late, great Scully, he was my drum tech / guitar tech at Pearl Jam's beginning. He and some of the other folks sawed off about a 1/4 inch of the stool's legs. So when they got up to sing that big More Than Words song,
they would bring out just the two stools for More Than Words and then have them come back on stage, Gary Sharon and Nuno Bettencourt, to do their little duo. While Paul and Pat got plucked in the back.
It was about a 1/4 inch cut off. So the stools the whole time.
How many people were there?
About 250,000.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh man, yeah.
What's funny is I feel like I said that to Nuno, and like Nuno's like, I don't think I remember that. And then like Paul Geary was like, oh, I feel like this has like a ring of truth to it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a repressed memory.
He went like that. He went like that with his hair to get it off the guitar strings at one point, and that's when he went.
That sounds like a very Nuno thing to do. His hair is beautiful and Portuguese and long.
Yeah.
Like actually, you have beautiful hair too. In fact, I found out this the other day that you're part Native American. Maybe it explains.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
The Samson-like hair.
I guess.
Well, it hasn't changed since 1991.
Couldn't explain my fear of scissors.
So I gotta ask you. I'm sure it's a trigger point. I feel like this is Fight Club because I know multiple people that have played in the band Guns N' Roses. And you played with them for like, I want to say what, a half decade or whatever. And there's nothing other than lots of internet tapes or whatever, I'm sure, to show what the fuck is going on with Guns N' Axl Rose. Like, what happened?
It was fascinating, man. I'll tell you.
Oh my God, thank you.
My lawyer and his lawyer were the same lawyer, blah, 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 blah. He had his guru looking at my pictures for a few years. I guess the time was right. So he asked my lawyer to ask me if I was interested in coming out. And then we spoke on the phone, 4 or 5 nights a week for a couple hours at a pop.
What's a phone call like with Axl Rose? What is he talking about?
For months. We did that for months on end before we even played.
Fill us in, because I don't understand this guy at all.
It was cool. I mean, actually, I considered him a friend. He was a fascinating dude, fun to talk to on the phone. I don't think he did it very often back then. I don't know if he does now, but it was cool. It was interesting. I felt good enough about it and excited about what he wanted to do with Guns N' Roses. It was real intriguing. So and incredibly challenging, because he wanted the band to be bigger than it was, and it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
It's going to take some work, but the band that was there when I showed up, my audition, I just thought, I'd heard these songs enough on the radio. I didn't really like them that much. It's like the Pearl Jam stuff, If I wasn't in the band, I wouldn't have listened to it, but it was, I just figured I'd get it because, as soon as that guitar part, oh yeah, that, okay, great. And I bought a cowbell and everything. And,
it's more cowbell, David.
And I got there and Axl came in late, and then he just said, and this after we had, gotten to know each other fairly well. He came in, told some jokes, and then he
Wait, what's an Axl Rose joke? Do you remember an Axl Rose joke? Like, how does he break the ice?
No, I just remember that he was looking at me like this, and he said, "I noticed you laugh at all my jokes." And the room got silent, like air left the room, the huge room. And I just said, I don't want to get fired. So,
so honest. I love it.
That broke the ice. And then he said, "Oh, so why don't you and Duff run down these songs?" Oh, shit. Just bass and drums.
Oh, God.
Wow.
So we did, and it was cool. But I expected, to hear some of those guitar parts that were telling me what to do. But it worked out. It was really good. And then we started writing music that was nothing like Guns N' Roses. It was me and Podboy doing a double drum thing, and guitarist from Nine Inch Nails, Robin Fink.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, the band was insane, but it certainly wasn't. It wouldn't have been a Guns N' Roses.
Are there like 600 hours of tape of this that like one day could surface, that like when Axl's not here anymore, it could be like a Prince situation?
There's no way in hell that Axl would ever let anything I was a part of surface.
No, I'm saying like when it's all over, like a Prince situation where Prince goes.
No. I bet if you mentioned my name, you'd probably get fired.
Why? What? So wait a minute. Is he triggered by you? Because most people, like, if you say talk to Bumblefoot about Guns N' Roses, like, he's just like, I don't think. People.
I don't know. I hope he's not triggered by me. I wish our relationship would have continued, but it was just where I was at the time, having gone through. It was a really intense thing, having my manager in the band getting fired. That was just so weird. And then
so wait a minute, your manager got fired? Like, wait.
No, when I got fired from Pearl Jam, my manager just disappeared. It was like, it was like this huge wall came up.
Wow. Yeah.
And so thinking about entering back into that arena, like, okay, the other biggest band in the world, first thing was talking to their manager and him telling me, well, you can't talk to Axl, you got to talk to me. And then I talked to Axl and he tells me, and then I talked, and it was like,
yeah.
So I got Axl's phone number and called him up. That was really funny.
Well, can we relive that moment? Like, so ring. Yeah. David's calling Axl. Hi, Axl Rose here. What's going on? Who is this?
That wasn't it. Not even close.
How the fuck did you get this number?
His personal assistant. Well, I got the number and a good luck from the manager, and then I called and his assistant answered, and I said, "Hi, it's Dave Abbruzzese calling for Axl," and it was just silence. And she stuttered a little bit and said, hold on. So I waited, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so. And then it was like, "Hello, why are you calling me?" I said, "Hey, Axl, it's Dave. I just wanted to see what was up. So you want to play some music?" And it was about 20 minutes later, it felt like, he eased up and he wasn't afraid of me anymore.
Do you think he had appreciation for the fact that nobody ever says anything to him, and maybe like you just busted his balls a little bit, like, give me that motherfucker's number?
Yeah, I think I was friendlier than that, but yeah, I think at first he was like, okay, but I think it was just, we just got along so well. It was easy. And then one day he told me he trusted me he was the captain of the ship, and he wanted to go down below and go to sleep, and he wanted me to take the boat. I was like, oh. Yeah.
So is he really a vampire? Is that what he's saying? That like he goes to sleep, does he sleep in like a vampire coffin, and then you go right into the iceberg like the Titanic?
All I know is he gets pissed and yells at people on the phone. But he started asking me, about white leather, if I'd be into it, and then
you look like you have strong opinions about white leather.
Well, it just wasn't. I was just thinking maybe we'd make a record before we decided what I was going to be fucking wearing. You know what I mean?
So interesting.
Plus, I wasn't really that interested in what he wanted me to wear. Yeah. Actually. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it. It was interesting. You mentioned he said that he wanted to make the band bigger than what it was. What do you think he meant by that? And in terms of image, or like reaching a different audience, or the type of music? Like, that's interesting.
I think he wanted to make a record and have an experience where he could look to the other guys and just go, meh.
Uh-huh. So interesting. I told you what drives people. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting. It was a trip, but he was really trying hard, and he was at the rehearsals, and but it was really a strange way of doing things, that whole trip. But he wanted to just go down to Rio, and we could just go and play for a week and make.
Wait, you played the Rock in Rio festival?
Go make 25 million. It didn't matter. We could just go play as Guns N' Roses for a week, and that's when I started thinking,
I think I have that bootleg. I got to go back and listen to it. That's you that played in the first Rock in Rio?
No. I'm saying he was saying we could just pop down and do that. Yeah. And it just started hitting me really weird. And then the manager told me that just to hang in there, because eventually he would tire of it and hire the rest of the guys back, and it would be my in. And that's when I said I had to go.
Interesting. So you feel like he was motivated more by fame maybe than the music at the time?
No, Axl's just Axl. He's a star. He is who he is. I think that just the whole behind the scenes, how his manager told me just to hang in there, because Axl's going to burn out of this idea and then get Slash and everybody back, and that'll be my in. And just like that kind of just hit me wrong. I like the when Pearl Jam, when we were first going through, it was like a really close-knit team, like the crew, everybody. And
I feel like that's huge. Yeah.
When did you start getting a strange?
I can't see doing it any other way. I can't see doing it.
Yeah.
When you listen to an album like Versus, which, by the way, I just want to put this on the record because I had to go Google this to make sure I wasn't crazy. But I remember when it came out. And by the way, I got the CD that had like the full cover with the nice pull out with like the little plastic piece that was like the limited edition. But what people don't know is at the time, and David, you can tell me if I'm wrong, it was the fastest selling record ever. And I remember when I say 10 was big, like Versus came out and people went bananas. And Dan Beck, who was, again, your product manager at the time, came on the show and said where, Eddie was like, do we do Rolling Stone? Do we do this? He's like, let's just put in some local ragtime. It made you guys so fucking cool. And when that record came out, it was the biggest thing. What was that like? Because it was the first record with you, like really on the drums, on the actual record itself.
Well, Stone asked me that actually on the last day when we were leaving the studio. He said, "So you're, you blah blah blah. You've got songs on," and it struck me weird, but it was just like I was really proud of the record. We worked our asses off, and I was really proud of what I contributed to it. I think more than anything, I was proud of the fact that when they were filling out, like who did what, like the names under the titles. Mm-hmm. My song was first, and I said, no, it's not my song. I mean, I wrote this thing just like all these other, but I didn't write it to get my name under it's all, we all took it where we took it. And so the whole album, that and the Vitalogy record, I don't know if they're still this way, but under the song titles is everybody's name. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I felt like the Pearl Jam was really a band at that point.
So you can hear that because isn't that record recorded pretty much live? I mean, isn't it mostly live what you're hearing on the stuff? Because I mean, obviously our drummer Paul talks about it all the time, and I know that you're like this too, that you hate the quantized bullshit that is out now. But isn't that an example of a band that got in a room and played what you're hearing? Like, Yeah, and we actually didn't purposefully. We didn't finish the song writing. We just had these song ideas, and then 10:30 in the morning we'd start working. And by lunch, I'd track the drums. Those guys would do overdubs, and Brendan mixed so fast we'd be listening after dinner.
Wow,
it's amazing.
So do you think that has something to do with it, like the lightning in a bottle, as far as your chemistry? You guys are having a good day. You went in, you played well. Brendan caught that. Brendan O'Brien, by the way, a great producer.
Amazing. We didn't always have a good day. Actually, very, very rarely did Pearl Jam ever have a good day.
And what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean they rarely had a good day?
I mean, we were so different, and like you'd think, okay, you're sitting at a dinner, and my manager looks over, and Eddie says to me, "Hey, there's a reason we're at an Italian restaurant." And the band manager says, you're wanted to let you know you're a member of the band now, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then under his breath, he says, "Oh yeah, and the record went gold." Now you think that'd be a good day, yeah?
Yeah.
No, that was just another day.
One of the things I read was saying that
actually it was the opposite of celebrated. It was just like,
so do you think it's like an abusive relationship? Like, because it seems to me like where Eddie Vedder is like an anti-rock star, a lot of the things that I read, again, this is coming from my childhood memories, is that you kind of just embrace being in one of the biggest bands, which I know I would. I'd be like, pardon me, sir, where's the Grey Poupon? And meanwhile, like Eddie's like, fuck that shit. Let's fuck with Ticketmaster and frogs.
Well, yeah, it really didn't have, I think what I did is I didn't do anything to become famous. I didn't take the route of saying I don't want to be famous, which at that particular time was the perfect way to become very famous. So I didn't say that. I didn't say any of that shit, and I wouldn't play it. I just enjoyed playing music. And
no, dude, listen, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm not tripping at all. I'm just saying, as far as the
Eddie's the kind of guy, like you just said it. He gets off. He finds out, you sell a bunch of records, and he's like, "Oh, man, my dog died." You're like, how? Like, what? How do you? What's gonna make that guy smile? Like, so okay, let's talk about it. So Eddie Vedder, why is he not a peach? Like, he seems like he has so many things he could be happy about, but instead he seems to be upset and just to constantly find things. Like, is he like that as a person? You said you guys started off as a tight unit band.
I don't know about how he is now, but no, he's not like that as a person. He's a very talented, incredibly gifted. Look what he's become, and he earned that. So, no, he's incredible, but no, there was plenty of happiness. It just wasn't presented. It wasn't allowed.
Mm. Why? What do you mean it wasn't allowed?
Yeah. Well, maybe to avoid becoming complacent, or keep moving forward.
To have the music be believed.
Yeah.
Right. So it was all part of the image.
Well, no, I mean, no, he meant it. It was him. The persona and him were, I mean, he made a commitment to be it. So, no, there was a lot of joy, but it just wasn't shared. Do
you think that Eddie was?
I hope it is now. It looks like it more is now.
Do you think that Eddie was playing a character almost of like the rock star he wanted to be, this Jim Morrison-y kind of? Because I read an interview saying, I don't know if it was Jeff or Stone, said that I was scared of Eddie up until like 2 years ago or something like that. And now like maybe hopefully he's mellowed out. But do you think that he used to think like maybe I needed to sleep on my dead aunt's grave like Edgar Allan Poe to be taken seriously?
No, just like anybody else in that industry, just had to kiss the right ass. Sorry. I mean, back in the 90s, I don't know how it is now, but, and Eddie was an exceptionally well studied Eddie.
Yeah.
When he met someone that was important, he knew what to say that would make a difference and make him, he was just a really incredibly gifted, networker.
So before we go on too much with the Pearl Jam,
he's a fucking singer. That's it. Yeah. He's a great fucking singer. He's a great singer, great frontman, and I, it was an incredible experience. When I see old videos and stuff, I'm really proud to have been part of what motivated him into being what he was back then. Because I mean, I don't think the band would have been so exciting if they had any of the drummers that he chose for that band. And that's the big thing.
Do you think it was like a symposium amongst all of you guys, and the fact that you're all so different, and that it's like one of those like you get in a room like Plato with all the different thinking minds, and then you come out with Animal?
I think I saw Candlebox with Dave Cruzen on video, YouTube, and it just struck me. It was like, wow, shit, they never wanted to be an exciting fucking hard-driven rock band. They didn't want that. That's not what they were supposed to be. Oops. So that's what I think happened. I think basically, because I look at Cruzen and I look at the way that Matt Cameron plays and performs with the band, and Jack Irons, and I mean, they just don't drive a band at all. I mean, it's
very different because when you see it's one of those things where you go see those old performances, and not to liken you to guys at the time, but like you look more like Dave Grohl than you look like a guy just sitting there just playing drums, like filling in. You know what I mean? Like you're hitting drums. You're getting up, you're standing on your stool, your fucking hair's everywhere. And I say that with total, one of the things I liked about Dave Grohl is not even his playing as much as just his stage presence. The fact that like when you listen to him on a record, it sounds like he's breaking Sound City Studios. Like, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I feel like I like about both of you guys from that time period is that you're just drummers that when I listen to it on the record, your energy transfers. And I completely see that because when I did see Pearl Jam with Matt Cameron, guy's an amazing drummer. He's an amazing drummer, but he's going through the rudiments, literally. Whereas when you see some drummers, you play with reckless abandon. And it's one of those things that's really refreshing because especially with those older bootlegs. I mean, I know they've like turned into this Grateful Dead band with a million different set lists, but you guys were riffing like back in the day. And I remember listening to a lot of those jams, and you guys had a cohesiveness. And there was an electricity that certainly, I don't want to say the band doesn't have anymore, but it's like much more thought out than when you guys were younger dudes in the early 90s, just fucking wearing flannel and murdering it on stage.
Yeah, there was a risk. There were a lot of risks that it was definitely, there were some jazz improv odysseys in front of a capacity crowd. But we were courageous with each other, and I really, it was a lot of work, but I really enjoyed driving the band. I mean, I knew that if I went somewhere, that Stone would go with me, and everyone else would be there too, and really that jam element that we used to just make a lot of shit up, and those like Porch and all these things, we would just go out, or just at any point. It kind of validated that stupid name.
Yeah. So do you think, like, and I'm not a lot of people have this perspective, but as a band, you mentioned that initially, especially, you guys were super tight and you had this cohesiveness and you could do those jams. Do you think as Pearl Jam became this really larger than life, biggest band on the planet, did that become more difficult, and were you almost forced as a band to fit into a different kind of mold, or were you able to maintain that freedom?
See, that was the cool thing is, no, I mean, from when we started in 14 of us in the band to when I got fired, that was like one movement. We didn't graduate to private planes yet. We didn't, we were still doing it the same way, just as often as we could, and for as long as we could in the best way that we could. And it all the way up, actually that last tour was the first time that I started to feel like we'd proven it, that and I was really looking forward to the Vitalogy tour, because to me, like, my drumming on that record, I put so much into compositionally into my parts and playing, and I was really looking forward. That's why I love that.
You even played guitar on that record, wasn't it? Immortality or something like that.
I played bass and guitar on I Davanita.
Okay, I was gonna say, as one of those, I had it written down. I had an I in my head. Yeah. But
that's all right.
No, but I think that's great that you guys could like get in a studio and as a Pearl Jam fan, I remember listening to 10, loving it, then getting Versus and going, holy shit. And then Versus was the first album that came out, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. And then like I had to like drink it in a little bit. And like, obviously looking back now, we're talking 25 years or whatever. It literally was such a amazing record. I mean, Spin the Black Circle is just like straight up rock and roll, where you have Better Man is a song that gives me goosebumps, just like Nothing Man, another song with man in the title. You know what I mean? And you guys have and that's a record that's really so much of a journey. Whereas, Pearl Jam on 10 and Versus was clearly like a rock band in a room, just like taking names. Like Versus was so much more composed, and I think produced in a cool way, not like overproduced, like a record produced, but like just like you guys thought about it. And it took me as a peon, at 14 or whatever, to not just be like, oh my God, he's yelling something, but like these lyrics actually mean something. And like, can you hear all the different instrumentation going on versus just a band raging?
Right. Well, it's a trip, because that you're talking about the Versus record, yeah?
No, I'm talking about Vitalogy, when I finally got Vitalogy.
All right. Yeah, you said Versus something.
It's probably because I'm a stoner, and my mom always yells at me that I'm sitting here smoking the thing, and I'll be like,
forgive you.
It's funny because like speaking of Guns N' Roses, like we played a show with him with Bumblefoot in 2007, and my dad walks up to Ron and goes, hey, so like, do you like really do this? Like, do you have a band and all that? I'm like, Dad, he's in Guns N' Roses. And then it's like, I'll be on like an interview with like the drummer, like literally for the first band I ever paid to buy a ticket for, that you guys gave me my money back. And like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm talking about like, hey, I really loved you on that album, fucking Far Beyond Driven. You were great. That double bass thing you did was awesome.
Are you smoking weed now?
Probably. I thought it was too early, but apparently not.
No, my arthritis is terrible.
The Vitalogy record, Tremor Christ, I played that drum part once. Immortality, the idea came up at noon. I was done tracking at 3.
Jeez.
Wow, that's incrable.
Do you think Eddie was just trying to put the money in the bank so you guys could, less recoupable funds?
No. That record was, in my opinion, unbelievably, it was an incredible record, and you'll never hear it. The Vitalogy, the record that was put out was changed drastically, so it wouldn't be a successful record.
Interesting.
What
How
does that
so?
mean?
Yeah. Talk about that.
We need to know more.
What do you
about
mean
that.
by that? Like, what sorts of things changed?
Honestly, the mixes became less radio friendly on the radio friendly stuff. And the order was changed and some songs were taken out and some really like, it's just strange. The timing between the songs, it doesn't play good as a record. It's
So wait,
just
did
an
any of them walk
uncomfortable.
into the studio and go like, you know what, this flows way too well. Can we make this like
No, it was finished. It wasn't in the can when I got fired. And Eddie went down and the band, it's my understanding that he went and made the decisions about the finalization of that record. That record was, put out in kind of a lackluster way. And just, it was, I have a cassette of the Vitalogy record as I expected it to be put out. And it's
Really?
Wow.
unbelievable. Yeah.
We should probably play that on this show. That'd be cool.
So awesome. Yeah.
Wow, that's some coveted material.
Did Axl ever let you leave the studio with like a demo from that day and say, go home and work at this? Like, do you have like a whole mess of things?
I've got DATs of my alternative mixes of WMA, and I would just go in at night and flip the switches on. What are they going to do?
Wow.
Well, apparently they followed the super. Did you see them follow the super fan that released all the Chinese Democracy tapes? And like they actually showed them and banned them from life from a Guns N' Roses venue. Like and made them like cry outside. He's like, I came from another state. So they could ban you.
No, I've got all, I had all the rough mixes from the Versus record, all those cassettes. And actually, I recorded every rehearsal from the first one to the day we left for the studio for the Versus record because the only way I could hear anybody was to put on headphones and mic everything. So,
wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just ran a DAT all the time, and then I'd go home and work all night on what I thought should happen here and there, and then go back. And it was cool in the way that all I had to do to, everything was so loose, and Stone and I would get together before everybody else showed up, and he'd have a new riff and we'd just mess with it. And hopefully somebody'd wander in and grab their instrument and start playing. And if that didn't happen, then we would talk for a while and somebody would try to do it. We'd just try to introduce things and spark something.
Well, what was the environment like? I mean, because weren't you guys locked in a studio, like in Seattle or something like that? Like locked in a studio? Like how did it start?
We were in our 7-foot ceiling basement rehearsal room. That was just one of the worst acoustic places ever. And I had a little kit, and everybody had a little amp, and it was the basement of the Galleria Potato Head, and we would just go down there and just bang out stuff. And then Brendan showed up and went, "Wow, you got some good ideas." And that was that.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we went in the studio, and he got sounds and got drum takes, and then everyone tracked stuff to my drum takes, and that was that. Yeah, it's an interesting way to make a record.
Yeah, lost
All I had in my headphones for most of the songs was a click track and my drums. So
it started with you, yeah.
Yeah, even though I didn't know the song, we didn't have songs yet.
Wow.
So, yeah, I would stop and I'd say, "Oh, that felt like a song," and then.
Well, it's actually funny because when we worked on the song "The Garden of Earth," and David and I have done a bunch of songs together, but that no one's heard because same thing as Axl Rose. I don't release anything. But we did a song called the Earth. Yeah, totally. We did a song called "The Garden of Earthly Delights," and David just it was such a pleasure to work with you. But you did some stuff, like you did some fills in the middle. I remember coming back and going, "We didn't do anything there." And then like Cory and I then recreating the song to your fills because we're like, okay, well, if he thinks there needs to be something there, and when we made it sound deliberate because you played it very deliberately, but we're like, we didn't know there was anything there, David. And I really respected the fact that, like, first off, the song's like a 9-minute song, and you play just hot pocket. You groove so hard that we basically have just guitar silliness. But there's a few times you do some really cool fills or some change up stuff, and like we were like, you know what, we're just gonna give it to him because like you did some things in that song and you took some artistic liberties, and I feel like you added a lot but a lot more than I guess a lot of drummers working with remote producers by just speaking through your drums and saying, you know what, I hear this here and this is what I'm going to do. And fuck you, Ben, just make it work.
Well, it's also, you know, I knew instantly just from the music that I was playing too, young lady, amazing stuff, that, you know, I trusted that what I thought was there, what I played to that wasn't there yet would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it ended up being a song is just I'm honored to be a part of it. Really great stuff.
I think that's amazing. Like having like that level of intention really does change the energy of the song. Cause like I come from kind of the other side of the music world where often I'm playing what's already written. You know, I grew up with classical music and even with tracking violin stuff, it's pretty rare that I'm involved in the songwriting process. I'm kind of like the top layer. You know, obviously this is different, but in a lot of projects, even, you know, with Starset, most of the stuff is written and I show up to play it, you know, so there's an element of energy that I can put into it, but I think it makes all the difference. Yeah. When you're adding something to it or you have that level of intention that comes from you and not from something that's been handed to you, you know?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was listening, when I got the final mix and put it on, it was just like, thank God. It was like somebody just poured cold water over my hot eyeballs. It was it sounded so good. And it was like, okay, I know this riff. Okay, it sounds the way. And then just the depth of, you know, like the painting the picture you painted with the placement and just where everything was, it was just instantly, I was like, okay. And then when I was able to listen into it and I heard, you know, the soloing is just next level, but I heard the soloing affected by, you know, by what I had done as well. Mm-hmm. And to be able to hear it all and to hear it play out, it was just, you know, I actually only listened to the first half of it and then I stopped it and just went, You know, I'm not going to listen to
how I feel about it too.
Yeah, you might need a break in the middle of that one.
That's an intense one for sure.
It's just great. I really enjoyed listening to it, and it, you know, I like cranking it up when there's people golfing and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but everyone that has heard the song, it's like they aren't turned off by the musicality, which is that's
well. Let's go on record as saying this. So one of the things that's great about having you on that song is Paul Lorenzo, who plays the drums on most of it, and then we had Jason Costa on another song, are both ridiculous players. I don't want to say they overplay, but they're crazy. You know, Mike Portnoy all over the place. You know, like Palmer level drums.
Next level.
Yeah, next level shit. And the thing I like about you, David, is that you just fucking find a groove, you own it. And I mean, you can hear it in your playing that you're just fucking into it. And with that song, because of the backbeat, I remember Conrad, who plays on it, saying, "Dude, this sounds like Moby Dick." You know what I mean? And Conrad is like one of the most insane guitar players. And we have also Rusty Cooley, may I add, on that song, and Jimmy Bell, who are two of the fastest guitar players on the planet, nevertheless Conrad. So it went from like, all right, let's do a song, to like, well, we have the Olympic, like everyone's the Michael Phelps of guitar here. So like we basically, so anyone that listens to it and goes, it's guitared, like, yes, we know. Rusty Cooley and Jimmy Bell together sounds like you sped up a tape. It's fucking bananas. And for those people that love it, cool. And if not, like, listen to Dave's drums because they're awesome. And I mean, and the thing is, you could hear that it sounds like you recorded it in a crazy ass fucking room. It's so huge. And Cory did a great job. That was one of the first things he said to me when you listened to it was, I really appreciate how good this sounds, because you sent me email after email, make sure you put this amount of pre-delay and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, don't worry.
Yeah, I know. You said, don't worry. He's got it. We got it. Don't worry about it.
I can really appreciate some good room mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right on, man. Well, I'm working on this new thing now with Townsend Labs, so you'll be getting some interesting things to work with.
Ooh.
Nice.
I don't know if you know that company, but man, that's some next level shit right there.
Can you tell us
about it?
Is it like the location? Is it like the location we're not allowed to know?
Actually, well, they're microphones, right? And I've been blessed to own serial number 11 Neumann long-bodied U-47. I've been blessed to own a matched pair of, well, actually 6 consecutive 49s, and you know what I mean? I've had some mics.
Yeah.
And these things actually
Jesus,
record.
I thought my match pair of C12s was cool, but oh no.
Yeah. I had consecutive C24s. Sorry. But it's not. It's like I said. I was blessed to have those for a while, and this company is making a mic. And I still feel weird saying it, but it's true, that models these mics. Unbelievable. It records.
Wow. Is it like the Kemper of microphones in that, like, you just like dial it? I want SM58.
Like a profiler?
I want SM57. Yeah.
Actually, I want to say yes, but I'm not. I wasn't as blown away with those things, so I can't say yes. I mean, it's next level, and it's not expensive, and they're unbelievable. They got lights in them.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, lights is a big deal for me. I've always told Cory, like, the whole reason I bought a C24 board in my first place, which I don't have anymore in my studio, the DigiDesign is a giant board. I think Jay-Z's got like 3 of them in his basement. Was because they had all these flying faders and a bunch of lights, and it looks like the Mir space station. And as a guitar player, I was like, I don't know what this does, but it looks important. Yeah. And little did I know, it's totally unimportant, and it's just a bunch of lights. But it made it happen.
So are you working with them on the development, or are you just
actually they are well developed. I actually been using them. I got the new DW kit over here. It's unreal. And
what kind of DW kit is it? Totally custom? Are you using a 23-inch kick drum? No. Can we talk about that?
I'm a maple finish ply guy all the way.
Okay.
But I am using a special grain pattern that allows the little toms to have as much depth as the big ones, because I still like having that puny little 10 right in front of me. Yeah. But it's a nickel chrome sparkle, just, regular off the shelf DW kit. Love it. I don't need anything special. Their drums sound the way I want them to when I use them. If not, then I use the crappy Ludwigs or some other drum.
Well, your crappy drums sound amazing, so I can only imagine what that
yeah. Well, you did it. You blew my mind.
Well, it's about the player too. I mean, no matter what instrument you have, if you have bad technique, it doesn't help.
Yeah, and it's also the point, if there was no point for those drums, they'd sound like shit no matter how good they sounded.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it was really fun. I will say this, it was fun for Cory and I to go back and kind of like recreate, like, okay, if David's doing this, what do we do? Because we did the song multiple times, and it started off as like a 4-minute song and then ended up like a 7-minute song. Now it's like a 9-minute song. It's absolutely crazy. And you did an amazing a bunch of takes, and we said, well, do a fill or whatever. And again, like, you just did this random fill that we really did make deliberate, but having to reverse engineer what you did was really fun. And it really gave the song a lot of feel. And, where Paul's a great drummer, like, it's such a breath of fresh air, especially for the guitar players that play on the song, to have such a backbeat Moby Dick style.
Well, and there's a thing about, like, the shredding, that I hear so much soul in those in the stringed instrument parts on that song. It's like, I'm not a fan of shred. There's so much taste and so much. I mean, there's soul in that music, and that doesn't happen very often. And I just want to stress again, well done creating a piece of music that brought soul out of that kind of gifted. I don't know what it would be like to be able to play that well.
Right. Neither do we.
I was going to say, that's why we have Siobhán put down all the tracks first, and then we just go, okay, what do we do?
No, but I'm such the eternal critic, though. Like, talk about not celebrating success. That's like, as a violinist, you're just played with that for life. It's like, oh, well, this could have been better. You're like never happy about it.
Can we all just say again, because we weren't on air when we said it, but congratulations to Siobhán, because Starset has hit 2 billion streams. That's got to be at least like $7, I think, or something like that coming to you, Siobhán.
You can ask Dustin.
2 billion streams. Like, I don't know if that's a lot, but that seems like a lot.
Oh, it is. Yeah. No, but it's fascinating to me because.
Were you in Forbes magazine?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were. Yeah. It was like a little 2-minute. No, but of course they used this photo that was like, typical day where I had like 2 hours of sleep and we had just played like a full day of radio stuff. So I'm just like, which is my good side? And my eyes are like crossing. No, but it's amazing. I mean, I think about this stuff, and especially on behalf of Dustin, like when you're the front man and you're the person that's like the kind of the creative head of a project, it's so interesting to me how, the things that go into like writing, maybe the difference between writing the music that you want to write and balancing it with writing the music that people want to hear and how you get to that level of like what makes you a successful band. And I'm kind of out of a lot of that process, because I'm more on the performing side.
Does that bum you out? Does that like find out like that you're still making them that like some part of you get to go enjoy it, but like really somebody else is like driving your car?
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot of pressure when you are the front person that's doing a lot of the music writing because, once you get to a certain level, I think things do change. And obviously I can't speak for Starset or what Dustin writes.
What happens if like he loses, if you're out in Germany, right, and he can't find the proper hair product and then he can't look as dreamy as he needs to on stage? Is that going to affect the live album?
No, but you know what? I think a lot of people think that image and how you present yourself is the most important thing. And it matters a lot for the live show. But what I've learned from traveling, to places like Russia, where a lot of people don't even speak English, they really find meaning in the music itself. And people that have never seen you, they're being drawn to you by listening to your music, not necessarily seeing photos of you.
Are you sure that they haven't, like, they're not secretly fans of My So-Called Life and that Jared Leto just kind of reminds them of, because I feel like, okay, so I'm not saying he looks like Jared Leto, but like as someone that like has a man crush on Jared Leto, other than like the Fight Club Jared Leto, but like the dreamy Jared Leto, the one that sings all pretty. Like when I saw you guys, because I'm still learning the majesty of Starset. I had no idea how big of a deal you were. Your mom told me. I should have listened to Anne Marie. But
my mom likes to embellish a lot of things. So.
Yeah, but the thing is that does Dustin know how many people love him?
I think he has an idea of it. I think he tries not to engage in it too much because at the end of the day, what matters to him the most, which I really respect, is the music. Like he's an incredibly thoughtful lyricist and melody writer, and the stuff that he comes up with is, I think, really heartfelt and meaningful.
He really is. I give him a hard time, but your band is fucking genius, and that's why you're doing so well so fast, because you know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen to a lot of bands. I mean, look at our band Lost Symphony. Me and Cory are eating ramen every single night, and he's calling me. He goes, "You got beef? I only got chickens this week." And we're fucking trading off.
No, but it's amazing all the things that go into it. Like we were talking earlier, Rob, about mixes, like how one mix would have been more successful than the other. And I mean, I listened to him like on the bus, going back and forth on mixes and mastering and all this stuff, and how like incredibly particular he is. And it helps that he really does have the best.
But does he try to sandbag your band because he's Eddie Vedder and he just decides that he doesn't want things to be cool or flow because he just has to have
probably the opposite.
No, it's quite the opposite. He is he is incredibly thoughtful and strategic about, the way he wants things to go. And I respect that because that's a talent I don't have. I can play the music and I love adding what I can add. But in terms of being like a leader, he's incredible.
Yeah. And my one nerdy comment will just be like the low end in production on the Starset records is like bar none, some of the best. It just hits you right in the chest.
Well, that's one thing about Eddie too that I will say as far as being he wasn't the leader of the band when we left. We were a band, and slowly he took the reins and it's not. I mean, kudos to him. I mean, it's a brave move.
So was he stage 2 or stage 3 lead singer's disease when you got fired?
Last time I saw him,
and where was Axl Rose, by the way, when you saw him? Was he stage 4B by the time?
Axl, no, he didn't have his hair plucked yet.
So he was in remission.
He was in remission. He was in his dungaree jacket phase.
It's a good face.
Yeah. But it was amazing. There were so many amazing things. I like the guy who Axl hired to put together this unbelievable guitar rig because he decided he wanted to play guitar or something, was Billy, who gave me a cassette. He's like, these are my songs. I'm trying to put together this thing. It's called A Perfect Circle, blah, blah, blah. And like, so all these, like, it was really an interesting time. All the stuff that came out of that little Guns N' Roses camp thing. Because, you know, when I left, Josh Breeze came in, and then Josh started working with Billy, and then Perfect Circle thing formed, and really cool stuff came out of all that. Really cool.
And then Chinese Democracy.
Wait, Ben, let him talk. What were you going to say?
I say, before I forget, Cory and you, or perhaps someone else, I don't know, but you did do something really cool to my drums at the end that made me sound a lot better than I am. So thank you very much. There's a fill. I wish I knew exactly where it was, but it's wicked. And I know you slid the kick drum in there because I wouldn't have done that.
Well, one thing I did, I went back and layered in some orchestral percussion over some of the really cool.
Oh yeah, no, I need that. No, you did something with my kick drum that I know I didn't play. That actually
That's a Cory thing to do.
As an arrangement idea.
Here's the thing that's so awesome about Cory. He makes you prettier and doesn't even tell you what he did.
And I don't remember what I did, so it all worked out.
He just did what he had to do. That's all, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I would have never thought you had a beard. I would have never thought you had a beard. You don't know what to say to that.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
Cory's a bass player before he's a mixing artist, so he's not used to compliments, David. He's used to like looking at. He's used to like having you look at him like he fucked up.
I'm not saying shit.
Let's not bring up bass players on this podcast.
No, bass
going so well.
Bass is so important. I mean, a lot of my friends, a lot of what I've learned recently is just like jazz music. I have a lot of friends in Miami that play in jazz groups, and the level of bass playing that I've seen is insane. And that's like what makes the band, in my opinion, in so many cases. It's like if you've got like a really sick bass player, that's incredible.
Okay, keep going.
Weirdly enough, I never ever had Jeff Ament in my monitors or my headphones ever.
Why?
I didn't know what he was doing until I heard it on the album.
Oh,
Wow.
But do you like it now that you've heard it? Great stuff.
I
was gonna say, because he's a good bassist to my knowledge.
Yeah, he's very creative.
But basically, you were the backbone to the point where you're like, fuck putting anyone else in my monitor. They're just gonna play to me just like the record.
Well, see, that was the thing. During the Versus record, everyone was still kind of searching a little bit, you know. So it was important for me to drive, even if I was just driving myself, you know, for those songs. You know, it was just a click track and a tape machine. So.
Mm-hmm.
And did you play all the 10 stuff like Dave Cruisin', or did you come up with your own official, like your?
That was the coolest thing. Actually, I had a radio show with a friend of mine named Chris. It was Chris and Dave's Music We Like show, and people would call, and if we liked it, we'd play it, and if we didn't, we wouldn't. And so I had gotten the call about the Pearl Jam thing, and we dug up all the Mother Love Bone shit and all the Pearl Jam sampler thing, and we tried to listen to it, and I didn't get 15 seconds through any of the songs, and then we tried to listen to a little Mother Love Bone. I couldn't deal with that either. So I called my partner Chris, said, well, have you ever been to Seattle? I said, no. He said, well, it's a free trip to Seattle. I said, oh. That was pretty much the thing. And when I talked to I called, and I wasn't really sure that I even was going to go up, and Eddie and Jeff just happened to be at the office, and so I asked them, do you want me to learn these songs, or do you want me to just come up and play? And they said, just come up and play. So that's what I did. Actually, I can count on both hands the number of times I've listened to a song off the 10 record in its entirety.
And on that note, you've been 2020, because I want David to come back. We're going to have you do a second half of this, because there's so many more things I want to ask you. Because if we go on about this, I'm going to talk for 20 minutes. No, because you want to know what? This is how we're going to end it now, because now you guys have to wait to see what he's going to say, because there's so much more that we want to know.
We're going to talk about Bernard Fowler. We're going to talk about working with the singer for Supertramp blew my mind, taught me a lot of stuff. I mean, there's so many people I worked with: Billy Cox, Eddie Kramer, Noel Redding.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is actually, before we end this thing, I actually saw Billy Cox. I'll show you on this wall if you see that Hendrix. It says Hendrix Smash Hits, and I had Billy Cox sign it because it was the Hendrix thing. And he goes, "You know, I didn't play on this, right?" And I said, "Billy, you should be happy I even know who the fuck you are, man." Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I didn't play on this. I'm like, neither did Joe Satriani or Dweezil Zeppelin, bro, but they signed it. Like, what the fuck? And on that note, will you stick around and do a second half of the show with us, David?
Sure.
So we'll see you guys again soon, 2020 part 2 with David Abbruzzese.